Big thing here is where the Thunder catch this. Shai gets it, spins away, baseline shot. Shai puts it in and walks it off in OKC. Kissing the Blazers goodnight.
Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by COOP Ale Works. That thing you just heard, that was the call from last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with an exciting, incredible, game-winning, buzzer-beating jumper to defeat the Portland Trail Blazers. And you might notice we have a special guest in the studio with us today. It's Michael Cage. We were all there. We were all sitting courtside watching this unfold. In fact, this podcast is the first thing that we're doing since that game winner. So we got to talk about it. It's the first thing on all of our minds. Mike, first, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. What was your perspective? What was your view of that shot?
Well, you got to look at what led up to that. There was a couple of great shots by some great players in that ball game that really led up to it. Now the Thunder got the last shot and won the game, but Damian Lillards made a couple of big shots, big free throws by Dort, big free throws by Shai, and eventually the big shot maker by Shai. I thought the margins shrunk so quickly in the closing seconds that if you missed a shot, you pretty much lost the game.
Yeah, we talk about the NBA being a game of runs, but not last night.
Not
there were no runs in the second half. It was
Yeah.
back and forth and back and forth. There was one section where it was 7 straight possessions where both teams scored back and forth. And then, the entire second half played within a 6-point margin, 2 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that this game can change, the fact that that game never exploded past that 6-point margin is just incredible. And this sheer amount of game pressure that puts on every single possession, incredible.
Yeah, at any point, if any team let off the gas, it would have been the game, right? Especially in that fourth quarter stretch. We talk about the last 5 minutes being crunch time. Really, the whole second half was crunch time because as we saw, if one team didn't score, it would have just kind of kept them behind for the entirety of that second half. And ultimately, Shai with an incredible play at the end of this game. But we also have to talk about the pass because J-Dub, the rookie, inbounded the ball. No Josh Giddey for that night. He was out with a non-COVID illness, so that meant that J-Dub had to step up and make the inbounds pass. Shai, they used him as a screener, Cage, to get him to get a switch. Mm-hmm. He got the switch. He got the ball, did a little turnaround, and shot a shot that he shoots every single day, something he feels so comfortable shooting.
Well, I thought it was a clever play by Mark because he was a decoy, and then he became. Eventually we were going to try to get him to basketball.
Yeah,
Portland knew that. Everybody at Paycom knew that last night. It was just a matter of 3.2 seconds. Can you get the ball in his hands? Mm-hmm. Because I'm thinking to myself when I was calling the game, whoever catches this basketball has to make a play.
Right.
And you want that ball in the hands of the guy that can make that play. And it happened because he sealed Justin Winslow behind him. Yep. And a great pass by the rookie, as you said. I mean, he hit it, bounce passes right on the money. And, Justin did what he was supposed to do. He cut him off on the baseline because Shai likes to drive. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew he was going to drive. And, man, from that point on, it was just really beautiful basketball of what he's done all season long for us.
It only took him one dribble to create all that separation. You see the distance that he's got for himself to rise up and hit that shot. And, Michael, to your point, I mean, just being that decoy – it was something I wrote about last night for OKCThunder.com of just how even when the Thunder is predictable, they've got the leader in clutch scoring, total clutch points. They've got the third highest scoring player in the league in Shai. Everybody in the whole building, all 18,000 people knew that ball was going to Shai, including the entire Blazers bench. And yet the Thunder manufactured a way to be unpredictable. It's the style of play, this identity that the team has tapped into where all 5 guys on the floor can be playmakers. All 5 guys on the floor have got to be screeners. Mm-hmm. And all 5 guys can finish plays too. And so in this predictable scenario, the Thunder finds a way to be unpredictable and still get the guy the ball that they want to get to.
Well, you know what helps with that unpredictability is the fact that everyone was contributing throughout the night anyway. Shai didn't have this massive 50-point game. Okay, he had 35. Yes, it was a really solid night for Shai. But up until really the second half, Shai hadn't really found his groove, his kind of rhythm offensively. So it was everyone else contributing up to that point. 42 points for the bench, for the Thunder, 7 guys in double figures, and every single person who stepped onto the floor scored. And when you have guys who are contributing at that level throughout an entirety of a game, it really could be anybody in that final stretch.
Yeah, and it just goes to show the discipline and restraint that the Thunder and Shai had. That Shai started 2 for 12, and he didn't start forcing it. He told us after the game, hey, I just trusted my work, and I didn't try to go outside of myself and start doing all sorts of other things. Well, the game eventually came back around to him. And Mike, I want to kind of hear from your perspective. Like, you've seen great scorers, you've seen all-stars and, elite players over your course of time. How do guys kind of will themselves back into a rhythm that way? Because Shai kind of seemed to do it with discipline, not by ramming his head into the wall.
Well, I think, it's really patience. I mean, just like what he talked about, start 2 for 12. Fortunately, there's 3 more quarters left. Yeah. And you know what? You don't try to, make it all happen in one quarter. I thought he did it over the final 3 quarters. He did it under the Thunder style of play. And at the same time, you just brought up a pair of seven guys in double figures. So that they were kind of, chipping in when Shai was still trying to get it going. And then when he finally got it going, I thought that the Thunder put him in a great position to make those kind of shots, because they said, look, all right, we're going to make shots too. And everybody did make shots. And it wasn't, the pressure's never, ever on Shai like I think people think it is.
Yeah.
Really, they're interchangeable parts. You're without your starting playmaker and Josh Giddey, and you find a way to beat a Portland Trailblazers team that came in with, 17 wins against 13 losses?
Yeah.
And
best
Damian
road
Lillard,
record in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And Damian Lillard is playing like Damian Lillard, and Anthony Simons is playing like Anthony Simons, Jeremy Grant. So, when you look at how it happened, I thought the team concept really gave him that space of time before he started to step into the game and get into a rhythm.
Well, something else, Nick, you brought this up in postgame. I thought it was a really great point, is that Shai didn't have to come in the fourth quarter, like at the start of the fourth quarter, outside of his normal rotation. Normally, Shai comes in kind of midway to late in the fourth quarter, and the Thunder bench, the second unit that was out there, did such a good job of just keeping the game going, keeping it close, keeping the energy up, maintaining the offense, that Shai was able to stay in his normal rotation pattern. And when he came in, he could obviously go in and do what he normally does.
Yeah, you often see NBA teams kind of get desperate when they want to get, maybe their best player, best scorer back into the game immediately. Shai had played 30 minutes through 3 quarters, and typically comes back, as you're saying, around the 6-minute mark. He comes back at 6:23. A lot of coaches, a lot of teams would have felt this pressure and this urgency in this back and forth game.
Yeah.
All right, we got to shove him back in with 10 minutes to go. Well, all of a sudden, it gets down to 2-3 minutes left, and this guy is starting to run out of gas. That did not happen for Shai. He was able to sit. He was able to get his normal rest, and he told us after the game, it's so much better that way.
Yeah.
If you can just be on your normal rotation pattern and then come back in and be ready to hit the gas to close it. What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, yeah, and I agree, because you got to, I know we're going to talk about the Memphis game in a little bit here, but not to get ahead of ourselves. But the team has learned that, look, you know what? When Shai's out there, definitely, we got a go-to guy, and we got a guy we can put the ball in his hands, into the shot clock, you name it, he can score it. But when he's not there, they've also learned how to score points too.
Right.
And that's really important psychologically, because you got to look at it, what they had 42 points off the bench last night.
Yep.
I mean, that's remarkable when you consider, the team you're playing against. The quality of teams you played in Paycom Center the last couple of games have been probably one of the top teams in the Western Conference, and top talented teams as well too. But the thing that remains the same, style of play.
Yep.
Players all playing the game on ready, and just being ready to step up and do whatever Mark asked them to do. And they've done a pretty good job so far.
Now, don't get anybody wrong. If Shai could be out there for 48 minutes, he would do it hands down. He wants to be out there every second, but he knows that he can trust his team. And this is what makes Shai so special, and what really sets him apart is that, yes, he can go out, he can get his own, he can get a bucket, but he is so empowering and encouraging and trusting of his teammates that he really makes everybody around him better. And it's just a high tide lifts all ships. And Shai is really, really embodies that in everything that he does.
Yeah, he said, I trust my teammates. My teammates trust me. And there's going to be times where we go on a run when I'm off the floor, or we go on a run when I'm on the floor. And that's what we have each other for.
Exactly.
And that's the true essence of why you have 17 guys on the team.
Yep. I remember one game, he was like, well, they were like, yeah, why do you trust your teammates so much? It's like, if I had 35 every single night and I didn't have anybody else, we'd lose by 40. It doesn't matter if we don't have a good team and if my teammates don't feel empowered. So
that's right.
That's something that Shai has been able to do, not just this season, but year after year after year, continue to not only improve himself, but also just really root himself in this team and make sure everybody is getting better as a whole. All right, something else that's been top of mind for us because it's day one is NBA All-Star voting. It starts today. We're recording this on Tuesday, December 20th. So NBA All-Star voting has officially begun. There's some new rules this year. There's no voting on Twitter. So if you're looking to vote, go to nba.com/vote. Or you can vote on the NBA app. You have to create an NBA ID. Just go to nba.com/ID and you'll be able to do that.
And there's a bunch of triple voting days where your vote counts for 3 times as much. The first one is on Christmas Day. And, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that Shai, all season long is putting together this all-star caliber performance. You can vote for all of your favorite Thunder players as well. But you just think about, what do you want in an all-star? And it's a guy like Shai who totally understands how he fits into the team concept and is able to kind of be that rising tide that lifts the entire boat of the team while still being kind of a part of the whole. So really great opportunity for you all to go ahead and put him into the all-star game.
You know where to go. NBA.com or the NBA app. Vote Thunder. All right, we're going to take a short break here, but don't go anywhere. We've got so much more to talk about with Michael Cage when we come back.
COOP Ale Works is the proud sponsor of Thunder Basketball Universe. Brewers of the fan favorites F5 IPA and 99-calorie Ice Chest IPA. You'll find those and many more COOP beers at retailers across Oklahoma. Learn more at CoopAleWorks.com.
All right, so we talked the Portland game. That was last night, but 2 nights before that, the Thunder had another really big win, and it was against the number 1 team in the Western Conference, the Memphis Grizzlies. And this was such an interesting game just from the outset because the Thunder was without several players, namely 2 of its regular rotation starters, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had a low back contusion, was out for that game, and Josh Giddey, who was out with a non-COVID illness. So there were 3 guys in the starting lineup that were different than the Thunder has ever seen. In fact, I think it was the 15th different starting lineup for the Thunder, or 16th. 15th different starting lineup for the Thunder this season. And the Thunder played to their style, they played to their identity, and they got the job done, defeating the Memphis Grizzlies 115-109. Michael Cage, I got to ask you, I mean, obviously you were there.
Yep.
What were you thinking just as this game was unfolding?
Well, I was saying to myself, if Shai's out, Josh is out, we already know JRE's out. Well, where's the bench production going to come from?
Right.
How are we going to score points off the bench if all the bench is starting now?
Yeah.
And true to form, Mark did a great job of coaching and managing the players' minutes. I looked at the stat sheet after the game.
That's a good point.
Not a single player played over 32 minutes.
That's a good point.
That's wild.
Yeah.
With really a short roster that night.
Yeah.
And you're playing against the hottest team in the NBA, comes into Paycom Center, Memphis Grizzlies, 7-game winning streak. And as you mentioned, the top team in the West, they were playing their best basketball. Mm-hmm. They were full. They were healthy. We were not. And you pull off another magical game in which the team concept couldn't have been at the forefront of a win, earmarking, what I would call a signature win than the Thunder had all season until last night.
True system win and true kind of identity-based win for the Thunder that night. All 11 players that were healthy and available got into the action, played at least 10 minutes, and scored. And you just think about that balance, that cohesion that has to exist when the situation's like that. And Paris, I don't know if you remember this, but as we were about to leave the floor on Friday night after the game against Minnesota, I said to you, I was like, I think Thunder's going to win tomorrow night.
This is true. And somewhere, because we shot the game day report for the Memphis game after the Minnesota game, just some inside baseball. So before we shot that, you said on camera, I think we're going to win.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with being like, it's not a pat on my back. It's just, Michael, I think you recognize teams that are shorthanded on the second night of a back-to-back, best team in the league is in the West is coming in.
You got every excuse to lose that game.
But there's something about the NBA where that team that's in that underdog position is so charged up. And maybe that team that's coming in, they're on a 7-game win streak, might be resting on their laurels just a little bit. And that is the prime moment to strike. Right. And it shows you how razor thin the margins are when you got NBA players going up against NBA players. That on any night you are vulnerable, and on any night you can be kings.
I think you brought up a good point about the Thunder stayed in system. And when you stay in system with what you're doing, team defense, ball movement. Remember, the Thunder had 29 assists.
29.
Yeah.
Right. And the bench did something remarkable, over
51 points.
But still, I look at that and go, well, where is it coming from? The bench is starting tonight.
Yeah.
So you talk about the system and how well they're starting to understand that, the sum is greater than the parts.
Yeah.
And that was a really big time night for them, because you had to battle Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, former Thunder player, huge front line, right?
Yeah.
And you're playing small ball because you have to.
Yeah.
But you get guys that step up, the plug and play, they understand their roles. Mark has been grooming his team all season. A 10-man rotation, understanding that, look, you know what? We are not defined by positions. We're defined by our style of play. It doesn't matter if Eugene Amarui is at the 5 or Pokashevsky is at the 5. Whoever's at that 5 spot knows what he has to do. He's anchoring the defense and then getting out in transition when you can. I thought that was really probably one of the more complete wins for us, lacking personnel up until last night, where, you had to just really grind the game out, possession by possession.
It was 2 back-to-back games for the Thunder where the collective effort, the collective mentality was front and center. It was the first thing on everyone's mind is if we're going to get this done, we have to do it as a group, and we have to do it together. 51 bench points against Memphis, 42 bench points against the team we just played, Portland. 82 game season. All of these are going to run together.
Nights, they all run together. You know what I'm saying?
Against Portland. But that collective mentality is something that every single person on this roster has just ingrained in their mind. And Mike, you said something that made me laugh, because you were like, you're going up against a big front line, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, and I'm looking over at our roster and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean anything to Isaiah Joe, because he tried to take a charge on Steven Adams and after the game said, yeah, it hurt, but I'd do it 100 times over if it's what the team needed. But every single person on this roster is willing to put their nose in the fight and willing to make those blue-collar, dirty plays that will sacrifice themselves for a little bit, but ultimately uplift the team.
But also everybody's getting the experience to be a playmaker, to be a scorer, to be a creator. I think, you just mentioned Isaiah Joe, the 23-point career high that he had. But the guy that stood out to me was Lou Dort. An efficient 24 points on 8 of 14 shooting. And with no Shai, no Josh, he played with so much restraint. He played with so much poise and conviction as a playmaker. And you just think about all of those games over the last few years where, hey, this is a team that's kind of repositioned itself. It's trying to figure out who are the actual NBA players on the roster. And here's Lou Dort in some situations when Josh and Shai have been injured in previous years, and he's in charge of the offense. He's in charge of getting guys shots. He's in charge of making sure that this thing's flowing.
Yeah, Ja Morant, Dillon Brooks, that whole group.
While also defending.
Yes, exactly.
The best in the league.
And what an amazing development story, but also, again, what an amazing system story that you can have a guy like Lou Dort who came in raw as can be on the offensive end, and you've turned him into a player who can manage the game to such a degree that he has that nozzle turned on aggressiveness, but restraint just to the right degree.
Well, I thought he did, a good job of getting the Thunder started too in that game, because that game could have gone sideways quickly.
Yeah,
he scored those 10 points in the first quarter, and then he did a good job of getting to the free throw line, and the defense, the toughness that he showed against Ja before he was tossed there toward the end of the second quarter, and then Dillon Brooks. I mean, it just kept going, and I thought that was probably his best game all season, because it came at a time where they needed his leadership on the floor. No Josh, no SGA. And then everybody kind of just rallied behind, the leader out there, and, started knocking down 1 3 after another. Before the end of the night was over, 19 threes was posted.
19 threes, And that was a result of the ball movement, everybody just giving up a good shot, for a great shot. You mentioned Lou coming out strong. The Thunder had such a strong start in this game, and that has been an emphasis for this team all season long, is trying to get out to strong starts, because we know this team can battle back from deficits. It's a matter of now trying to make sure you're not falling behind early. And against this Memphis team, the number 1 team in the Western Conference, fully loaded, no injuries, the Thunder, who were down several players, just completely rallied around each other and got the job done. It was such a fun game to watch. As people who cover the Thunder and know the identity of this team, we were just like, yeah, put your stamp on this one. This is an identity
win.
Well,
Paris, you kept thinking, wait a minute, we're up 20? We're up 21, 22? And you're saying to yourself, something's going to come apart here in a second.
Yep.
But they held on to the rope, and they did not let go.
No.
Again, poise. I mean, the youngest team in the NBA in a 3 games and 4 night stretch, you go toe-to-toe with Minnesota team, tough loss. I mean, kind of gutting to lose that game on a rough shot by Austin Rivers in the corner, and then 24 hours later, you're coming back. You don't have 2 of your leaders, and you just play within yourself.
Right.
And then you come off of that high of going up against the best team in the West and doing it, and then 48 hours later, just a professional performance. And again, composed throughout the 48 minutes.
And I think they keep passing these mini tests. I always look at it, being a former player, the NBA is about small tests. Each game is a test. Can you defend the 3-point shot? Can you protect the paint? Can you get out in transition? And that was a tough stretch of games where you played Minnesota, you played Memphis, and then you played Portland. Man, that's a tough.
Yeah.
I don't care if
Miami
you're on the road or at home.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So really a strong week, and then you started it with Dallas in Dallas.
Yeah.
That Monday. That's a tough stretch to get through, but they keep passing that test. They keep rallying behind each other, and keep the momentum going forward into the season. And it's really just a matter of these guys like saying, all right, if we don't have Josh tonight, we're going to miss him, but we're going to make up the difference because we're understanding that in an 82 game schedule, you're going to be short on your roster a lot of times, and you got to learn to play that way.
Right.
Yeah, and it's incredible to see this group in real time take experiences, learn from them, and apply them in their next matchup. This is going to be a great opportunity for the Thunder to do exactly that, because guess what? They've got the Portland Trailblazers again. That's the next game for this group. It's going to be tomorrow. Same time, same floor. They're running it back. So it's about getting back to 0-0 now, taking those lessons and making sure that you maintain the same energy, same effort, same game plan against the exact same opponent. So that'll be a really fun game to watch here in Paycom Center. Mike, you mentioned something that I want to talk about. This is a long homestand for this Thunder team.
Longest in team history.
Longest in OKC history. They're here for 14 days. They're already down a few days. They've already played 4 games. But not only is it a 7-game homestand, but it's over the holidays. Did you ever have anything like that?
No, it's never ever that sweet. And I'll tell you one thing, I like it because you got to realize prior to that we were on the road for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So to get this kind of home time and be around family, because family all rolls in. We're one of the second youngest team in NBA history, so their parents and friends and loved ones are going to want to come out for the holidays, and why not treat them to a game? Say, look, come to a Thunder game. If you can't make it tonight, we got 3 more lined up.
Yesterday was a great game for family to come down and watch. That's for sure.
It sure was. Yeah.
It's. I mean, you got to take these wins where you can, and I mean wins in the bigger sense of you got this great practice time at home. In addition, I mean, you never get this extended period to be able to practice in your own gym, all of your kind of modalities that the Thunder has at the Thunder Ion, and then game after game after game, and then you have this great break. I mean, no games on the 24th, 25th, or 26th for the Thunder is unheard of.
Yeah.
So really a great opportunity to enjoy that time, and then look, you kind of, this is almost like a little miniature All-Star break before you get the All-Star break in February. It's a really nice reset opportunity.
Well, I'm not complaining, because if you remember, we started training camp on the road. We had 3 road games, 4 road games in training camp. And it seems like we have not stopped since.
Right? It's
when
been
the
go.
season started, we just kept going, hit the road. We were front loaded with a lot of road games. And, eventually the schedule always balances out.
Of course.
And when you can get this kind of unique balance in it where it's favoring you being at home, man, I tell you, everyone loves to be home for the holidays,
definitely.
right?
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
So, I've never experienced anything like that, but it's a little late because I'm a broadcaster and I'm not a player, but
Hey, you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it still. That's for sure. It's a nice little reward for being on the road for 2 weeks in 5 cities.
And it's just the fact of the matter. Teams play better at home. I mean, the Thunder has one of the larger point differentials just in terms of home versus road. I think they average over 117 points per game at home. And, this is a team that has made the largest points per game increase of any team in the league from last year to this year. You go from 30th last season to, I think, right around 13th in the NBA in points per game. And a lot of that has to do with how comfortable you feel on your own home floor. So, kind of, as Michael would say, put money in the bank while you can.
That's
man.
right, man.
Right.
And I think that too, with this big stretch of games, we're halfway into it right now, being at home. You brought up a good point. Practicing, we're still young. We still need to practice.
Yeah.
We just can't play games.
Right.
So I think, at some point in time when the schedule was favorable, Mark pointed it out a couple of days ago about being able to get some practice time in and fine tune some things because you can't just play games all the time. And I think that's going to be equally important, as being just home for the holidays, is having that practice time.
Mark called it really good developmental time for this group because you can really get intentional about weight room time, practice time. And guys are, they know the gym. They can go to the gym that they know and get shots up and go into the weight room when they want to because they know where it is and all of that stuff. No logistics of having to get on the bus to go to the arena to do that. It's all in the comforts of your own home. So they're able to do a lot of developmental growth during this time. And the reason why Paycom Center is so special to the Thunder group, it's because of you. You got to get down to Paycom Center, come root on this team.
Right.
And during the holidays, I'm going to tell you something. Paycom Center is so much fun.
It's glammed up.
It's so pretty. There are twinkle lights. And then right across the street is Scissortail Park. They got the big 50-foot Christmas tree out there too. So it's just a really nice.
And the popcorn has a tendency to taste a lot better too. So it's not bad. It just tastes better around the holidays to me.
So
thank you to our special guest, Orville.
How
I ate some green and red popcorn the other day. Honestly, I did at Paycom. It was green and red popcorn.
So with wine, they're the masters of wine tasting or sommeliers.
Yeah.
So for popcorn, we just got Michael Cage.
That's right.
He's the master of all popcorn around the connoisseur. Yes. And Paycom Center has the best?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I get a box every day, every game at halftime. I sit there and I cram it down before we go on the air.
He really doesn't. I don't know how he does it, but I've got a bag behind him too. So
Popcornosaur? That sounds like a dinosaur. Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. Michael Cage, our popcornosaur.
Come see me.
It's so good. All right. Speaking of the holidays, the Thunder is in the holiday spirit, not just in the arena, but also out in the community. It is the season of giving, the Thunder's 15th annual holiday assist. It is the largest slate of holiday giving events in Thunder history. You heard that right. The Thunder is pedal to the metal, getting out here in the community. And in fact, one of the coolest events that I've been a part of truly since my time here with the Thunder was the one that we had this past week. It was an all-team event, so every Thunder player got a chance to come out to Dick's Sporting Goods. They were paired up with a Millwood student here in the local OKC area, and they all went on a $500 shopping spree. It was incredible. It was so much fun. Cage, you were there, and it was this store is huge, first of all, and these carts covered some ground on this day.
Well, let me see. It's Christmas season, okay, and I get a $500 gift card, and I'm at Dick's Sporting Good, and I got an NBA player helping me pick out. Yeah, it won't get much better than that for me. I thought that was really a lot of fun. I mean, we were all there on the ground, just having fun, watching the reaction of the students when the players were called out and assigned to them, how excited they were, not knowing that, the big, $500 shopping spree that they had in front of them.
And the Thunder always does this, right? They kind of do it up and have a big thing. Rumble is there. There's an MC, Malcolm, who did an amazing job, and he kind of calls them out. Like Michael Buffer,
Exactly.
They kind of had this starting lineup introduction where each guy comes out, they go get assigned to their student athlete. Each of these kids were student athletes. And so, it was not only just kind of this, special time right around the holidays, but these kids were able to get some gear for them to play. I mean, one kid who was actually 6'6" got paired with Shai, so they were seeing eye to eye. He was a basketball player for Millwood, and he had a game the next night. And I saw him, pick up a shooting sleeve, just like the one Shai wears. He had a basketball. He had some gear for him. And then also a lot of kids, I thought this was really funny. Kenrich Williams, who's the only dad on the team, was making sure that his kid got a nice big warm winter jacket, knowing that it was about to be 0 degrees.
Good job, Dad. Good job, Daddy Kenny.
So good.
I like that.
My favorite pairing of the whole day was Erin Wiggins. And I choose an 8th grade. Her name's Mary. And she was leading the charge, first of all. She was not letting Erin take over. And they were butting heads like brother and sister this entire day. In one specific instance, Aaron's going through. He's like, okay, so what do you like to do? What do you think? What's your favorite color? What's your style? He picks up a pair of Christmas socks. Yeah. He's like, okay, so what about these cozy socks? And she goes, I am not wearing those tacky socks.
Oh, it was so great. I mean,
it was so funny. And it was just like brotherly, sisterly love, but like they were going at it.
And they're like the banter. And these are the reasons that the Thunder has these events, just to have that engagement and interaction. And the cool thing is that Aaron, for all that banter, all that back and forth, he said, she's such a sweet kid. Yeah. By the end of the day, she was, buying stuff for her siblings and for other people that she knows, and not just, kind of taking all this opportunity to do it for himself. And that kid that I mentioned earlier, Solomon, the basketball player, he before the shopping even started for himself, he said, I'm going to pick out something for a kid in need, somebody kind of in my community that needs something. And so that was really cool for that to be top of mind for him.
That's incredible. Just the giving spirit is just contagious. Yeah. And it's so cool to see how that trickles down to even the folks that are getting the $500 shopping spree. Such a fun day. If you missed it, if you didn't get the chance to see it, go to OKCThunder.com. Go check it out. The video is up. And then throughout the rest of this holiday assist slate, be sure to stay locked on @OKC Thunder on all social channels, because it's some incredible content. It'll make you smile. It'll warm your heart. And it's going to get cold around here. So you definitely need to check out that on OKCThunder.com. Okay, let's give you a look as to what's on tap for the Thunder coming down the pipeline. Like I mentioned, this home slate is not over. The Thunder taking on the Portland Trailblazers again tomorrow. And then they welcome the New Orleans Pelicans to town. Then nice little break for Christmas, like you mentioned, the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, Thunder, no games, but then they're back in action on the 27th against the San Antonio Spurs. So pretty solid slate here at home.
Great opportunity to come down to Paycom Center. You can be nice and warm and toasty inside the arena.
Right.
You get all sorts of yummy food.
Might find some hot chocolate around the corner or two.
Maybe find some chestnuts roasting on an open fire somewhere.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Who knows?
Yeah, and this is part of an extended stretch too. It's actually the 7-game homestand, but it's also 11 of 13 at home for the Thunder. So OKC will have a quick trip to Charlotte, then back home, and for that annual. We won't get ahead of ourselves too much, but that annual game on New Year's Eve as well. So if you miss out coming down this week, make sure you line yourself up to get down to Paycom Center the week after that.
Please do. We would love to see you. And the fans, it's just a fun environment, and the players really, really love seeing your faces too. So that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Michael Cage, thank you so much for joining us today.
And happy holidays to everyone out there.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas.